Good afternoon. My name is Rodney Glover, and I'm a candidate for governor of Florida in 2026. And I just wanted to take a minute to ask you, are you learning? What are you picking up from everything that has happened? What we are seeing? Are you learning from it? Are we arguing facts? Is it important to have facts that back your argument? These are all of the questions that you should be self assessing and asking yourself. One, we're going to have to figure out where we stand in the pecking order of this economy. Everything is not going to affect everyone at the same time. History has shown us that those who are already at a disadvantaged position will be affected first. If we remove healthcare, they just get sick and spread disease, which eventually, if spread enough, reaches the upper tier. By the time that happens, we've lost a lot. How are we concerned? Think about this. How are we having a conversation when we have 8 US Code 1324 Alpha that says you can't even hire an illegal immigrant without them filling out some form? I believe it's like some form 9. You have to look that part up, but it's in the 8 US Code 1324 Alpha blurb. You can't even hire them. Yet, we're saying, we see news that says that we're going to have shortages because we don't have supposed to be legal people working in the areas that they were working in, that they're just all gone. And we are seeing video after video. I don't care if mainstream news isn't posting it. We're seeing video after video. We're seeing area after area of people not working. How were they ever getting hired? How were these companies not held? Y'all know me. I'm a root cause problem. Why were the companies never held accountable for hiring illegal immigrants? Why were they never held accountable? That should be the question. But we have to be solution oriented. And how do you get to a solution oriented question? How do you get there? How do you get to the solution? You've got to decide if you're learning. If you've learned from the mistake. The mistake was believing that the individuals, because we created an avenue to lobby or to pay for people, we created that. We allowed that to happen. We had to take accountability for letting that happen, and we voted those individuals in. Now, I say it all the time. I believe that the way ahead, this is the solution, is to ensure that the citizens become a major force in checks and balances everywhere, starting clearly in the state of Florida. That's why I'm running for governor of Florida. We need checks and balances based on citizens. Now, eventually, if you are in a good place, if you can still take yourself out to eat, if you can still give tips, if you can still go out there and buy things leisurely, if you can do those, you're high in the pecking order. If you're not concerned about credit card debt, if you're not concerned about living check to check, you're high in the pecking order. For everyone else that's not, are you considering how some of the legislation, some of the things that are passing are going to affect your neighbors? Why does it always have to affect you personally before it becomes a problem? And this is something that we have to do some soul searching on. We should have all been holding each other accountable. It's got to start in your family, in your circle, with the people that are around you. It's got to be your environment that holds one another accountable. There is a split. There are still people out here who do not understand how these tariffs work. But let me try this again. Guys, this is a game to figure out which group's citizens can last the longest. Do you hear me? which groups, citizens, can last the longest. When the prices go up, that's when the economic tears are going to start being felt. Who can handle it? If you already don't have a car, how do you travel further to go? Because this place has done something to wrong you. You already don't have a car. So if you don't want to be able to do this part right here, then you have to travel further. It takes sacrifice. It takes commitment. It takes time. This is where we are, and we have to consider those who are not as fortunate. Wherever you are, it's got to be a consideration. And the crazy part is we're asking for that from people who are even more devalued. We've got to figure this out as a collective. But right now, the tariff battle, you've got to come with facts. It's literally going to cost citizens. It doesn't matter that other countries are saying, well, we're going to do tariffs too. It costs their citizens. It's got to logically come back to you and say, whose citizens can last the longest? It's a tiered system, and you're part of it. And you can't do anything about it. And you're not alone. You're not alone. These people are pointing their fingers and sending the masses. There are still people out there that are not getting the same information that you get. And it's because you're not networking, because you are afraid to lose friends and family, that you won't hold each other accountable, because it means something to us to want to be liked. It's always meant something. You want to be favored. I'm asking to run for governor of Florida to give citizens the right to control their elected officials. But I need you to like me enough to pass me on. But I got to do it, and I have to take the hardest step out there, which is to tell you that sometimes your actions are not the ones that I agree with, and they are not healthy. If you're not going to say something because you have I got to pick my battle mentality, then that battle that you choose not to fight, the other person wins. If you thought it was a battle, if you could see that it was something there and you chose not to do nothing, and you don't know if someone else did something, but you know that it was something you should have fought, that means that side had a good chance of winning, because there was one less person to fight that battle. If we don't figure this out as a collective, man, it is difficult right now. And everybody knows it. Nobody's not understanding that. It is difficult out here. But the one thing you got to ask yourself is, what are you learning? Are you learning from what you're seeing? And can you factually back it up? You got to be able to factually back these things. We have citizens out here who had so much hate in their heart. Guys, this is crazy. So much hate that they put a name, right? They're going to name it Obamacare. And you already hate that person. For whatever reason, you have to hate them. But the actual bill is called the Affordable Care Act. And you had people on the Affordable Care Act who hated Obamacare. You hated the name. You hated the person. But you were using Affordable Care Act. This is how they manipulated it. And then you had people that they weren't trying to make fun of you, but to certain people are like, you can't be this. You can't, because you didn't sign a form that said Obamacare. You signed something that said Affordable Care Act. But the term was all you needed, because we feed and fester off of negativity. And sometimes when we feed and fester off negativity, we don't want facts. You got to live in the facts when you are hearing this politic world. So I hope you're all learning and continue to take time to learn and then execute so you do not continue to make the same mistakes. Let's all have a better day.